following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin. Hey everyone, I'm Christine.
And I'm your co-host, Gabby.
Hey, Gabby.
Hey.
You know, this week, we're going to do something a little different at the top of the show. Normally, folks, we talk about, our dates or what's happened to us during the week that, kind of pertain to...
Christine, we can't hear you.
I know. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Anyway, there's always something fucking going on. So...
Right.
So anyway, we're gonna ditch that because I want to talk about another person's story really quick. So there's this woman named Deborah who found me 13 years ago for her wedding, and she wanted to have this really glamorous, glitzy, old Hollywood, like Cinderella story wedding. And she hired me to find her a venue, and none of them were working because her mother lives back in a small town, Sharon, Massachusetts, and she needed to be, no stairs and all that fun stuff. Anyway, I suggested to her, why don't we do your wedding in Massachusetts? And she was like, how can we do that? And I said, really easy. I set up vendors and venues in Massachusetts. We fly out there. We see it all. We come home. Your wedding's done. And she's like, no way. So we did this. And I honestly, absolutely fell in love with this woman. She was extraordinary. Her story with her husband is really inspiring. Look how beautiful she looks. She's in that Cinderella ball gown.
Oh, I love that.
Look at that. And Richard, her husband, next to her, her cute little Asian man. And those are her two brothers next to them there. Deborah and Richard met, and they had 2 weeks of dating when he proposed to her. He said, Deborah, I am not going to live the rest of my life without you. You are my queen. Will you marry me? And she said yes. And they spent the next 18 years in bliss engaged. So they were engaged for 18 years. And that's when she found me. She said, I really feel like it's time to make me his wife. So I helped them plan their wedding in Massachusetts, and I brought the old Hollywood glitz and glamour to the old Massachusetts, and it was beautiful, and it was honestly the best day of her life. She glowed like a queen. She was not a princess, she was a queen. Anyway, fast forward, everything in the last 13 years has been, I was Deborah's secret weapon in her pocket, she said. She had her boss's baby shower. I did it. She got a new job. I did her celebratory party. Anything that she did, she had me do all of it for her. So we not only had this long relationship for work, but also a really good friendship. And I was texting and calling her all through COVID saying, hey, Deborah, just want to see how you were doing and how COVID's treating you and, et cetera, et cetera. And I always post on her birthday, and I hadn't been hearing from her. So I was unsure, what's going on with this bitch, right? Right. Why is she ignoring me? And I figured she'd just reach out when she needed me, which is absolutely fine. She knew I loved her, and I knew she loved me. Today is her birthday. So I wanted to talk about her story because when I said happy birthday, how I actually said, happy birthday, Deborah. I miss you so much. I hope today is as magical as you are. And you know how other people write in on your happy birthday thing,
Yeah.
someone said, "Happy birthday, Deborah. You're missed so much. Have hope you're having the wonderful birthday in heaven." And that's how I found out my friend died. So, today, look at that beautiful smile. She is a goddess. Look at her. She's
Yeah.
gorgeous. I am sad, but her life is an inspiration. And to me, her love story is my relationship goals. They were married for 11, 12, 13 years, whatever. And I know now why I wasn't hearing from her. Unfortunately, everybody thought that I had seen the post, and unfortunately, I had not. So she is missed, she is loved, but I wanted to celebrate her birthday today with a big cheers to Deborah. Let's celebrate the life of an incredibly beautiful woman who loved with her whole heart, and she was a goddess. So this is to
Cheers.
Deborah. Thank you for hearing me out. I wanted to honor her,
That's
that
lovely.
beautiful, beautiful woman there. So Gabby and I want to talk really quickly about this incredible relationship coach, Chantel Laundreville. I know I'm going to butcher her name. Chantel Laundreville. She is Raise Your Love Signal. She's a relationship coach, and she has this brand new program that she's bringing out called The Journey of Love. And Gabby and I are her test subjects. So Gabby and I had our first conference call with her this last week, and that was so much fun.
It was.
And she's so beautiful. I aspire to be like her. She actually is going to put us through her program. She's going to coach us all along. And on March 3rd, which is my birthday, she's going to come on as a guest, and we're going to talk about the results of our journey of love to see where we will be at that time. Sorry, I got distracted. Our sound engineer is a funny man. He says funny things to Gabby and I to keep us smiling. And he knew that I was feeling a little down, so he had to put some quippy little thing on there, which we love you, Jason.
Read it.
It says Gabby's journey will be based on the book The Never Ending Story. Don't we know
Funny,
it?
funny, Jason. But that's how it feels
funny.
so far. Ha ha ha. That's why I'm getting professional help.
Yeah, we're getting professional help. I need it. Hey, you know what? I was overseeing one of my other best friends, Denise. I know I've talked about her many times on this show. Her mother and I are very, very close. Last night was probably the last night that I will be seeing her. She is, going to be leaving us soon as well. So today's a really a rough day for me, but I have to remember that they're always going to be with us, and they will always be there to love and support us. And they're, we just want to remember their lives as happy and wonderful. But anyway, I what was I saying? I have no.
So we're going through her program, and she'll be
Oh.
on your birthday.
Yes. And I was talking to Denise's brother last night. He's 66, and I'm going to connect him actually with Barry, our guest today, because he needs help. And I helped him with his profile last night, changed all of his pictures and changed his profile, like the way that Lori told us how to do it. And I told him, I said, you need to get a dating coach. And he's like, oh my God, I never thought about that. And I said, absolutely. It's a must. We get people to fix our transmission. Why can't they fix our brains to help us date better? And attract the right people for our lives? Well, today's episode is called You Complete Me is a Lie. We are talking to our very amazing guest, Barry Selby. He's an inspirational speaker, and he's a relationship expert. He's a best-selling author and spiritual guide. He's dreamy.
I'm so excited for this one.
He is a passionate champion for the divine feminine. You go, Barry. Dedicated to helping strong, successful women create greater balance in love, life, and business. As an expert coach and guide for singles seeking relationships and self love, Barry is affectionately known, and I can contest to this, to the love doctor to his friends and clients. His #1 best selling book, 50 Ways to Love Your Lover, helps singles and couples embody powerful principles for passion and richly rewarding relationships. He brings deep compassion, gentle and calm masculine presence, and you will understand what I mean the minute you hear him speak.
I got a
Ay,
copy.
ay, ay. And wise guidance to assist his clients in their journey to true love. So today what we're going to talk about is masculine feminine polarity, codependency, and healing broken hearts. So let's welcome Barry to the show.
Hi.
Hi, handsome.
I was blushing after all that introduction.
Aw. Well, you're adorable. I think that you are this wise guru that I admire so much.
Thank
I
you.
could not wait to have you on the show. Barry and I actually speak in a lot of the, what are they called? The clubhouse
Clubhouse
room.
room. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got some great clubhouse rooms that, you should say the names of them, whenever you want, Barry. Barry comes in there as this professional for dating and relationships. And he's just so wise and so calming that I just go, "Ooh, Barry's in there. Here I come."
So
Well, let me
Barry,
just-
I have not had the honor of meeting you before. So can you tell me a little bit like of your background, like what kind of clients you see? I mean, how did you even get into this? As I just throw all of my questions at you.
How much time do we have?
Right.
Let's just say I've made plenty of mistakes. Plenty. I've got, I can write a book on that alone.
Good idea.
What changed me basically after many different relationships and different mistakes, and I've been involved in the personal development field since 1984. So I've been on seminars, trainings, teachings forever, including getting a master's degree in spiritual psychology and being a spiritual counselor. And I still kept messing up my love life. I had all these skills, all this great toolkit, and I kept messing things up. And it's like, okay, I'm give up. It's like, what am I doing wrong? This was 2006 after my last bad breakup. And it was the third relationship in a row where the same thing basically happened. Of course, 2020 hindsight made it easy to see. But after the last breakup, I was like, okay, what am I missing? What's not working? And that's what led me into the discovery and the immersion is probably a better word, into the masculine feminine polarity. So many teachers learned where I was off base and also what I was choosing was off base at the same time. And so that was really put me in this path. But also when I look back, I've been the shoulder many girls and women cried on since probably my early teens. That was always it was my natural gift. I would always be the safe guy they would lean on. Didn't make much of a dating life, but it made me safe for them. So that's and none of that was really my focus. It was just like I just do that to my friends when I was out doing other jobs and other things. But I finally owned up to it in 2009, 2010, give or take, where I said, okay, I need to hang out my shingle, which is why I wrote my book, and be visible and start doing this because I know enough stuff, but I wasn't making it visible to the world. So that's the short version of what, to answer your question.
I love that. So tell us really what masculine, feminine polarity actually means.
Yeah.
So I tend to describe masculine as being male and feminine being female, but that's really a generalization because we all carry both. Doesn't matter if you're gay or straight, if you're single or in a relationship, you carry masculine feminine polarity within us. It's a spectrum, so to speak.
Yes.
So, and this is how I've learned it, is that I grew up basically in a family where my dad was very basically macho, not like beating on his chest, but he was very like my way, the highway. I'm running the show. My wife stays at home, takes care of the house. The kids will, learn to be like me, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I hated that growing up. So I basically, once I was in my teens, kind of rebelled against that. And the only other choice I knew back then was like macho man, bad boy, or nice guy. That was the two choices. So I was the nice guy for many years, hence my relationship screw-ups. Masculine is neither one of those two, which is why I had to learn what it was. The way I describe the difference between macho and masculine, just to make that part clear, is the macho is kind of like it's basically being driven by the balls and having a real ego. So it's neck up and balls. That's basically the visual I'll use for referencing.
Okay.
The
Mhm.
nice guy basically is like almost like a eunuch in some ways. This is like, kind of energy. Well, not what I was doing. But a masculine directed man is a man who has an open heart because he has a great deal of compassion and strength, but also a straight spine. Because one of the things that a masculine man has is direction in his life. But
Ooh,
it's not
nice.
direction, it's not selfish direction like mine, get what I'm getting. A masculine man has the way I define it, or the way I've been taught it, is a masculine man has purpose. He has direction and clarity and purpose. That's not to say that feminine doesn't, but the thing is, truly masculine men, are generally more, I'd say, linear or sequential. We do one thing at a time really well. So we're very good at direction, goal orientation, achieving where we're going. That's one of the strengths of the masculine. Hence,
Okay.
the old parent was the hunter, the gatherer, the old hunter-gatherer paradigm. The masculine was the hunter. Focus on target, go for it. The feminine, though, was more, in a way, was almost the opposite. Like the masculine is like depth and presence and stillness. The feminine is aliveness, energy, and movement. So the different energetics. And in a way, the masculine and feminine are like yin and yang. They fit together. So a couple of analogies I used to describe the feminine. Well, Mother Nature. It's Mother Nature, not Father Nature. So the thing is, the feminine is aliveness. It's movement. It's also way more powerful than the masculine. But the world doesn't teach us that. We live in a patriarchal structure. Female. Yeah, I call them Gabby.
We like that. We like that. We're flexing
That's the
over
reality.
here.
Yeah. This way, one reason women give birth is because we couldn't. We wouldn't dare to. We haven't got the strength for it. So that's one part of it. And the way I describe it from some of my metaphors that one of my teachers use is that the feminine is like a massive river coming down the side of a mountain. It's powerful. It's flowing. It's going everywhere. That's the feminine energy. The masculine is the river banks that create structure. So the feminine can flow. The masculine creates a structure, but it does not control the river.
That's sexy.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, that's sexy. I really love that. That's actually really beautiful. I love that. How do you think that ties in with codependency, and what do you think the struggle is with that, and how people can recognize it and maybe work on that?
Well, let me explain codependency first, and I'll attempt to plug it back in afterwards, like these different pieces.
Yeah.
My favorite quote I use which I hate using because I hate how it says what it says, is from Jerry Maguire, "You complete me." That quote is the epitome of codependency, because codependency implies that we are not whole unless that person shows up and makes me feel better. And that's the challenge with codependency. I was in a clubhouse room earlier today, and we talked about codependency. And I said the challenge is that we're trained to think that until we meet the other person, we're not whole. And we have had decades of love songs that teach us that. Like Harry Nilsson back in the 70s, I think, had a song out called, "I Can't Live If Living Was Without You." How tragic is that? So that's the challenge. So codependency, and to be honest, all of us were raised with that. Our parents didn't generally live in what I would call anything other than codependency. And in the evolution, in the structure of relationships, codependency is kind of the base level where most of us come from. It's like we do one part, the other does the other part. It's like a 50-50 relationship. We try to make things work together, but we're only half contributing.
Yeah.
But functionally, we're not 50%, we're 100%. So a relationship is not codependent. And the way I describe it evolutionarily, just to use the chronology, so to speak, back up until about the 50s, so to speak, women were basically raised. They were raised by their parents till their future husband came along, courted them out of the house, took them out of the house because she didn't have a car, entertained them, courted them till they said yes to get married. Then they moved to his house.
Yes.
So she was a passenger the whole way through. That was the epitome of codependency. And the show back in the 60s, I think, was All in the Family, Archie Bunker and Edith Bunker. It's been reruns on Nickelodeon, I believe. But that show was like, Archie Bunker was the total macho man running the house, and she was the meek housewife. They couldn't live without each other. They detested each other, it seems, but they couldn't live without each other. She was the meek, stay-at-home housewife. So that was the way it was up until the mid-60s, actually late 60s, when the sexual revolution happened. So up to that point, it was codependency all the way. Once the sexual revolution happened, women's liberation, the feminist movement, whatever you call it, women basically declared the stand for themselves in a simple way. Women said, we want freedom, we want to be equal, we want to have our own rights. I know that's still being worked on because we're not there yet, just to be honest. Yeah. But basically, women had their own credit cards as of 1971. That isn't that long ago. Women got their own bank accounts. They started getting their own jobs. But the epitome of women being in the business world was they copied the men. And they had independence. They didn't need a man. But the thing is, when they were dating, it would be almost like masculine, male energy fighting each other, because the women were like choosing the dates as much as the men were. I was the recipient of that. I know what it felt like. So basically went from codependence to independence, which wasn't working either, because two independent people don't need each other. You come together for a minute and then you leave. Done. What we're really growing into, which is the evolution of masculine and feminine polarity, is what's called interdependence. Because the difference between independence and interdependence is independence means you don't need anybody. I'm fine. See ya. Out. I'm done. Interdependence is I'm whole and complete, but it's things that you bring that add to what I have. And I do the same for you. So it's not codependent either. And that's really the next level of relationships we can have. It's not easy because it's so tempting to fall into, but she said this and he said that, and all, they'll blame game, which is also an indication of codependency. That's the short version. Again, just.
I think that's incredible. I mean, I think that's absolutely, it's fascinating, and I can absolutely visualize applying that to like today's dating world.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, my mother was the oldest of 7 children. So she was the babysitter and didn't finish past 8th grade. She was the babysitter. She raised her brothers and sisters. At 18, she wanted to stop raising her brothers and sisters, so she got married and then had me. She was in a marriage her whole life and was codependent. And she, divorced my father and married somebody else who I call the step monster, because he literally was a monster throughout our lives, and she was codependent on something like that. And she'd never had her own credit cards. She never had really her own car. She never had but maybe a couple part-time jobs. She was home, and she felt that she couldn't do anything without him. So I grew up watching this and hating it and thinking that is never going to happen to me. Never. So I think I might have gone to the extreme and been incredibly independent, and then raised my daughters to be incredibly independent, that we're trying to reverse that a little bit, to not be codependent, not be independent, but have this middle ground of something, like what you said.
Interdependence.
Inter.
Now, Barry, I have a quick question. Well, I mean, it's not going to be quick, but
quick question, long answer. I get it.
Right. So, like, with the people you work with, what are some of the common traits that you've seen that you've had to work on with your clients?
Boy.
I know, right? Totally good question. I'll be here all night.
Well, most of the issues tend to come around from long marriages or long relationships, and now they're out in the dating world, not sure what to do, and they're still dragging around a lot of heartbreak from the past because they didn't know what to do to heal that wound, and they also feel parts of regret that maybe they should have stayed there. As bad as it was better than nothing. I mean, there's a whole list of things that people run as their reasonings. One of my clients, her journey, frankly, was learning how to be independent. I mean, my job with her was helping her learn how to love herself and not keep looking for it out there, because we're trained that way. And I took a lot of that self-love in my work, not to be like as a panacea, but as a focus direction. Because when we start to recognize that we are worth loving ourselves, then we put effort into taking care of ourselves. So health gets better, and self-esteem increases, we have better self-worth, self-confidence, etc., like that. And some of my clients, that's actually what I end up doing with a lot of the clients, because that's the piece they were missing, because they put all their weight on their partner to do that for them.
Mm-hmm. So here's the question. How would you suggest to people to go if someone was, say, the opposite, the exact opposite? Someone was codependent and someone was too independent. How would you suggest someone try to learn to be that middle ground where you have a 100% relationship, like we talked about?
Well, in some ways, I'll parallel this to the attachment styles, because it's something that I know a fair bit as well, not as much as some other people I know. But basically, the avoidant attachment style is kind of the independent, like I don't need anything and I'm fine, don't want to get too close. Whereas the anxious attachment style is like I need you, I need you, I need you. So that's the two opposites. So that I mean, to be honest, those two people will end up having a problem trying to be together because there's no gap. There's a gap between them. One's walking away, one's trying to chase, and it's this constant chase with each other.
Which is men and
you and
women a
I.
lot.
Christina, that's you and I.
That's Gabby and I. We're constantly finding men who are either running from us or too attached to us. And it's like, I can't seem to find that balance between that, we're there for each other and not,
right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, partly it's going to be what your inner focus is, but also what relationship you have with yourself. And that's the challenge, is that we often don't look in the mirror, so to speak. We don't really go, okay, what is it about me that's creating that result? That's a dangerous question. So a lot of people don't ask it.
I keep just saying my picker's off.
Well, that's the end result.
Right.
But the thing is, like, how did you get there? What was the thing that was getting to that point of choosing? Because we have been trained, and another piece of the puzzle. I'll give you a lot of the content of this piece, but there's a book by Bruce Lipton called The Biology of Belief. I've heard him talk a few times. He's a neurobiologist, I think. He does stuff with epigenetics, a bunch of other fancy stuff, but in simple terms, he talks about how we are, well, I describe it as we're born without user manuals. When we deliver to our parents, they have no clue, no guide, no book. Most of them didn't read Dr. Spock or any other childhood rearing skills. So they basically raise us the way they think they should do that, which could be scary. And as kids, we don't know how to learn either. So Bruce talks about how the first 7 years of life, we are sponges taking the world around us. We are students of life without realizing we're doing it. And everything that's happening around us becomes our model for life. So the way love is expressed around us by parents, siblings, caregivers, whoever, becomes our imprint of how love is expressed. Again, good, bad, or indifferent. That goes on until about 5, 6, 7 years old. And then at that point in time, we become self-aware, and where our conscious mind comes online, so to speak, which is the gatekeeper. So basically what comes on is at that point forward, we start to interpret what comes at us, and then we decide to believe it or not. Up to that point, though, we've taken everything in. So we've got a whole store cupboard behind that gate of beliefs that we took in without realizing it about how love is expressed. The reason I talk about this is because as an adult, we would tend to attract relationships that mirror what we were raised with on some way, shape, or form. And that's why it happens. It's not right, wrong, different. It's just that we didn't know differently because we're not, again, raised with user manuals. We do from what we learned. And until we understand that and unhook it, it keeps repeating itself.
Growing up, I learned exactly what you're saying. I learned to be codependent and to accept abuse. Okay. So for my first 30 years, that was what my life was and my relationships. After that, I worked really hard seeing therapists and counselors and anger management and anything to help me stop being codependent and stop accepting the abuse and to realize my value and to realize who I was and be happy with me to get to the other side. I think that I went so strong the other way. I became so independent that I'm trying to let that go, not be codependent, not be too independent, and trying to find that middle ground and find the person who can meet me in that middle ground.
Absolutely. Because the thing about that piece about what we learn from childhood is that we associate love with certain things.
Yes.
I grew up in a family that was actually a very loving, wonderful family, so to speak, in the fact it was British, reserved, Jewish, not very expressive. So I didn't know what to express. I mean, it's a reality. But my early dating life in my teens and in my 20s, every single relationship I was in, which would last a month, maybe 2 months, would end with an argument. There'd be an argument, I'd quit and leave. In my family, there were no arguments. So I had wiring in my subconscious that love didn't go with arguments. They didn't fit together. So I didn't know as an adult that I was being run by subconscious programming or unconscious programming that said, if you have an argument, there can't be any love, you better leave. That's what I did. So
I feel like part of mine is like, wait, I'll nitpick. Wait, you didn't say the right thing. In this situation, you were supposed to do this and not what you did. And then I would be like, I'd cut and be like, all right, you're not my person, and go. Because I mean, I had my parents were like, I mean, they fought and then they would we talk it out, like, oh, wait, you're ignoring me for a few days because you need space. You're not doing the right thing. Like you're not
Sure.
fitting into the category of what I was told is light bulb.
You're welcome. And that's the thing. Is every one of us is carrying that belief system around without knowing it. How
Yeah.
we're raised influences our adult relationships.
I think a lot of women think that if a man needs time alone or space, that it means that he doesn't want to be with us.
Mm.
And I'm learning that it's not something that we've done or are doing. It's a man needs space and his own time, and it's completely separate from us, and he's okay to have something separate from the us or the we. Because us as women have the same thing, which is just seen differently. Our girlfriends, our children, our hobbies, and we don't see it in the same light. We just think that men don't want to be with us, so therefore they must not love us.
Right.
I mind fuck the shit out of it. Now I'm not gonna lie. And Christine is my punching bag. I go crazy when, wait, why hasn't he texted me back? Why hasn't he called me? Why? Oh,
Yeah.
it must, and I go off on a tangent.
So here's so you know that, again, because masculine and feminine are opposite ends of the spectrum. Masculine integrates and resets with silence. The feminine integrates and resets by talking. So,
Yes.
and as one of my favorite teachers, Alison Armstrong, who I love working with, she's awesome, talks about how the problem that women have is they think that men are just hairy women. Whereas the reality is we have different polarities, so things are not going to be the same. And when you recognize, oh, that's my stuff, that's not theirs, oh, I can relax now. That's such freeing.
Do you think maybe it could be I don't know, maybe I'm thinking in my head, a solution for me is accepting the fact that if there is a disagreement or a difference in opinion on something with say a guy with me, that maybe I give him that space and time to go and think and feel and do his thing. And then when he comes back, he respects that I need to talk about it.
Well, you can presume that, but you may want to ask him first. It's like saying to him, "It's like, thank you, say I just make sure I honored you taking the space. Would you be doing me the honor of letting me talk to you now?" I mean, you can educate him. I mean, there are plenty of books out there, teachers and things I can recommend that can get you started on this. I mean, the work I do as well. But I've been through this journey, so I've learned the hard way what doesn't work and what does work.
Right. Now, Barry, with like, how times obviously have evolved, and we, our show is, mostly our dating has been because of online dating. So how has your perception with all of the research that you've done kind of, I don't know, evolved with the times of online dating, and maybe it's hurt us more than helped us and all that fun stuff?
Well, as I said before, the energy of the masculine is hunting. The energy of feminine is to be like gathering and protecting, and that's the energy they have. The dating apps are built for hunters. So the dating apps are designed for men, just to be transparent, because it's a sort of searching through, kind of like, are you the one? Are you the one? Are you the one? It's the searching technique that we use as men to find matches. So when women use the app that way, they're in the masculine. If you know that going in, it makes it easier. You go, oh, okay, now I know what I'm doing. It's not right or wrong. But the trick is, and this I talked about in other conversations about the handkerchief drop that women used to do back in the old days. Because the thing is, what people have not understood is that women have control of this. Women get to choose. We get to ask, you get to choose. That's the reality. So women have the power.
I like it.
So
I like it.
It's the reality.
I like it.
In the old days, what would happen is if a woman liked a man, well, he's a good guy, I'm interested in him, she would drop a handkerchief for him. And then he would pick it up and give it back to her if he was interested. It was almost like the unspoken communication. But the thing is, what happens is, first of all, she controls the direction because he doesn't like it. She won't drop the handkerchief, or she won't take him in that easily.
Right.
But if he sees the handkerchief and picks it up, he knows he's not being rejected right away. So his ego is intact still as well.
Right.
In modern days, the suggestion I have in the dating apps and such is if you like a guy, you're okay to reach out to him, but you just tap on the door, so to speak. You just drop the handkerchief. It's his job now to pursue you if he's interested. And so the dating apps, you can still do that same thing, but don't control the conversation. Be the initiator, and then step back and let him do the work, so to speak.
I think women have a hard time with that because they see it as rejection if he doesn't. And women take everything so goddamn personally.
Yeah, but men feel more rejected than women do, I think. Because
You
we're the
think
ones.
so?
Well, because we're the ones who keep asking, and we get told no. Generally.
Really?
I mean,
I
I've not done the
try.
research, you know.
Yeah, I'm trying to, be that woman to try to understand where the man is coming from. I think by, I know where I'm coming from. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I like. That's great. I'm trying to understand the man's side now. I'm trying to, open up and accept, how they think, how they feel. And then, I'm pretty easy to go with the flow of it once I know, but it's hard to know, what that's supposed to be or what that's supposed to be like.
Well, my grandmother used to call it, like I think it's the masculine and feminine. She used to call it blue and pink. Like she'll be like, Gabby, you need to be more pink. You're being too blue. I'm one of 3 girls. We were raised very independent athletes. Don't take shit from anyone. And so I come off sometimes very, strong and secure, and it's very intimidating at times. So I need to be like, she'd be like, Gabby, you need to be more, she never called me Gabby, my full name, but you need to be more pink. Boys don't like too blue. Boys don't like blue. They're blue. Girls need to be pink.
Right, but this is the thing. I get Facebook memories pop up every day with with the previous year, 2 years, 3 years, etc., etc. It was 3 years ago, I think, when Me Too became a big topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and because of that, all this conversation is also predicated with an overarching sense of like, how do we have men and women interact with respect? Because yes, being independent is a good thing to protect yourself. You don't want to be too pink so that men can steamroll you. That's what we're all in that conversation. Because for us men, we had to, especially back then, we had to be more cautious not to be looked upon as being a predator or a sex addict or something like that, because there were so many people being painted with the same brush. So that's unfortunate for most of us, because it's only a few men that did that, and women have had mistreatment over the years, as I said. So it's definitely an interesting dance we're in now as well. So I want to put that on the table, just to make sure we don't presume it's all easy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree completely. I appreciate that.
I'm
really curious about I'm gonna look up your book. I need to. I think that I'm like really, really like intrigued by the way that you've kind of worded your research, at least in the compacted time that we have.
Was I wrong? Is he not? Like,
fabulous.
Thank you.
I'm like, Barry, where the fuck you been all my life?
Making mistakes, frankly, making a lot of mistakes, and
Me
learning.
too. Apparently,
but I've had great teachers, thankfully. So I've been studying with some great teachers.
well, that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling with this podcast that I am creating a space to not only teach myself, to teach Gabby, to teach women and men anywhere in the world who wants to, take 50 minutes out of their week to listen to us gab. I think that I'm trying to open a safe space for people to learn and to have mentors and people to guide them. I'm all about, healing the heart. My podcast, it's called 50 Shades of Bullshit. It just means that we're done dealing with the bullshit. Let's step that aside. Let's get rid of it. And now let's think about how to heal and move on.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of healing, how do you think it's part of what we were talking about earlier? You would talk about, healing broken hearts before we, had you come on the show. I wanted to ask, a little bit of advice about, how you suggest or what's your guidance on, taking a couple of steps towards healing when you don't mesh, when you're not right, when you're finally finding yourself and you want to find that right love. You also have to heal before you can move on.
I'm guessing egging their car is not a good healing technique.
It might.
She told me to egg somebody's car.
Tipping in the house and negation in the car, it would definitely be something that would be called cathartic, but it may not be solution oriented.
Right.
So And this is the thing, is that a lot of the stuff I talk about in healing is dealing with all that resentment and judgment and blame we throw on the other person, or the guilt and shame we carry ourselves. Because those are the tools we grab onto, because it's the most effective ways of punishing ourselves or the other person. Because that's the wiring we have. We don't go straight to, oh, it's okay, I'm forgiving myself and I move on. Most people don't do that because they're not raised that way. It's not their education. Right. So we have to go through a phase of anger and upset and resentment, and that sort of stuff. The thing is, don't stay there. That's the first step, because that's the trap. Because it feels good, but it's like having a hangover every time. You don't enjoy it ultimately. So the work I do with a lot of my client work is really help them heal by coming back to having some self-centered work, self-love, self-compassion. Self-forgiveness is a big tool, because a lot of times we carry judgments about what we didn't do, or did say, or didn't say, what they did or didn't do, all that sort of stuff. When we can forgive ourselves, because it's not about forgiving them, it's forgiving ourselves, we become free. And really, that's the ultimate place to be in, is to be free of the past relationship, not stuffing it down or sticking in a suitcase, but being totally relaxed and free of it. You know,
many people bring it into the next dating experience that they have.
It's dysfunctional. Yeah, we think the other person can help us. There's a meme I posted, which I've now taken down because I hated it, actually, is that, you'll look for the relationship that's going to help you unpack your suitcases from your past baggage. No, that's not their job. You get a therapist, a coach, self-journey, journaling, whatever you use to get free yourself. One of the people I listened to years ago, Barbara DeAngelis, she's John Gray's ex-wife. She did a course called Making Love Work many years ago in LA. She did a talk once. She talks about how when we go through pain and wounding from past relationships, it's like we have this ocean of love that we have. And when we have heartbreak or wounding and we don't heal it, it's like putting ice on top of the ocean, piece by piece by piece. So as we go into new relationships and we don't heal, we add more ice to that ocean. And what happens is we're decreasing the amount of ocean that's free to be opened. That ocean is the amount of love we can give. The more ice that covers it, the less love we can express, because it's covered up. So those past wounds we don't heal, those past upsets, baggage, issues with past relationships we don't heal, blocks the amount of love we can express to a new partner. So they suffer as well, because they don't get a full expression, and nor do we. So it's worth doing the work with relationships.
Yeah.
I agree. That was making me think about some of my past relationships that I had actually grown attached to, or maybe fallen in love with, or at least opened myself to. And then for whatever reason, it wasn't right, and we broke up. And I spent an exorbitant amount of time feeling sad for myself, because I was thinking that I was being rejected, that there was something wrong with me, that they didn't love me for a reason of mine, not because of something within themselves. Right. And so I wasted a lot of time wallowing in that and being in that, which actually stunted my growth, my personal growth, and it kept me from possibly being open to somebody who could have been there and been the right person for me. And it took me a long time to get past those. And it was through self-realization, through self-love, through self-healing, through opening myself up and being able to actually go to the movies by myself for the first time, going to have dinner for the first time by myself, things like that. When I started to discover who I was and how valuable I am, that he wasn't worthy of my value. He wasn't the right person for me. So,
Barry, quick question for you. Sorry to cut you off, my darling. With our listeners, and they look you up on Facebook or your website, what are some things that they're going to find, or what they should look for, or what to reach out to you for?
All the above? Okay.
I'm telling you, I'm so smart.
Well, I post provocative and informative memes a lot, mostly on Instagram now. I've been on Clubhouse for the last year. Instagram's the main social media connected to it. Okay. So I started I hadn't done Instagram at all before that. So I sort of up my game, and so I've been putting out a lot of good content. So if you want to just get some inspiration, follow me on social media, because I do post that stuff like that. I have a YouTube channel. And all my social media is my name, except for Instagram. It's all Barry Selby on all the channels. Instagram is the real Barry Selby, because my original handle got hacked a few years ago.
So let's say that again. On YouTube, it's Barry Selby, and on Instagram, it's the real Barry Selby, because I want people to be able to find you.
I'm going to look you up. I'm going to be honest.
You can stalk me, huh? So you
good stuff.
Well, YouTube, I have I think something like 1,200 videos on there now. I went on a rant. I started out with doing some talks back in 2016 about the masculine and feminine and about standing up for the feminine. I did these talks called Messages from the Masculine to Inspire the Feminine Heart. I was on a run. I was like really passionate about this. I did a few talks over a few months, and then I started doing them every day. 3.5 years later, I had 1,000. I just got carried away. But they're all teaching. They're like 10, 15-minute talks on, and some of them I look pretty scruffy. Sometimes they're dressed up. I mean, it's whatever it is. But those are where I put a lot of my free content. On my website, which is also my name, barryselby.com, I have an online course for women called Attract the Man You Want, which is an 8-week program. I have my book. I have book opportunities. Excuse me?
I said I'm down for that.
Yes. It works. It gets you ready. It does all the work. Yeah. And it also offers coaching within it. And on the front page of my site, there's a little button that says Let's Connect. And if you want a free session, I do a free complimentary 30-minute talk that basically gets to see where you are and where I am, because I want to know, first of all, you can check me out, but also I want to check you out, because I don't take on everybody, because some people don't do the work the way that I like to do the work. So I want to make sure we match. And if it fits, we can talk about working together.
I think some people think that by getting help, that help is actually going to do the work for them. They don't realize that they need to do that work, that you are just a vessel to allow them to, create from.
I mentioned to all my clients that when I talk to them up front, I say, look, just so you know, when we commit to work together, which is usually a 3-month commitment, that I give homework. So we have these talks every week. That's where you just navigate where we are and what's going on. But then from that point, I say, okay, now I know what you can do for the next week is this or that, whatever it's going to be. So yeah, it is going to be your own journey, transformation.
I love it. I love a good transformation. I'm about to start a program right now. It's a 3-month journey. And in 3 months, looking back from today, you're going to see a brighter, lighter, healthier, happier version of myself. I'm going to go through quite a transformation, which I will share later about as I go along. But I this kind of program, it starts from the inside, like from what you're eating to, past trauma and dealing with it and letting it go, and how you perceive money, how you perceive love, and, working through those things. I think people should try to find help wherever they can. I don't think a lot of people realize how valuable a relationship or dating coach is. I think that anybody who's either never been married because they can't seem to get past that wall or pull the trigger, or those who have been married and gotten out from a divorce, no matter what the reasons are, that you should get that help to be the best version of yourself, to find the best relationship for yourself. Because it doesn't matter who you are, you're looking for some sort of relationship, whether it be marriage, open relationship, poly, casual. You are looking for a connection of some way, and you should be the best version of yourself to find the best person for you.
Well, the thing is, when you are being the best person yourself, you raise your own standards too.
Yes.
So it's worth it.
Oh, yeah. I truly believe that. I think that you're an extraordinary man. I think that you have this really beautiful quality about you that makes people feel comfortable and know that they're in good hands. And I really hope that people reach out to you. Barry Selby, let's keep ringing that name, because I think that you're magical, Barry. I knew the moment that I first heard your voice and heard what you had to say, that it was really a special thing. You're a special man, and I feel very privileged. Gabby and I are really honored to have you today. We can't thank you enough for being here.
I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. We've only got a few seconds left. The time flies. We just want to say one last time, Barry, you're a god. Thank you for being here. And you're welcome back anytime. There's so many subjects that we could cover. And folks, please follow us, please like us, please share us, and come back every week. We're at the same time, same place. And until we see you again, keep it real.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next